Hello, fellow music nuts. It's me, Cubby, with another personal spin. And today's album is Heathen. It was released in 2002. It's 12 tracks long. It's a pretty good one, if somewhat of a slow burner. Um, let's start with the bad, still the not so good stuff for me anyway, is the fact that it is kind of a slow album. It's not the most energetic. It's also got this sort of overriding sense of melancholy over pretty much the whole album, which is interesting, but for me, it's a little bit, could do with a bit more to it. Just a bit less of that. But that being said, one of my favourite tracks is the opening track, Sunday, which has got really, really good Bowie performance, and actually is one of the highlights of the album is Bowie's performance, especially compared to Hours, which just sounded like he didn't want to be there. In this, he sounds invested and like he wants to be here. It's like he wants you to want to listen to the album. Someday, it's largely kind of an a cappella-y type song. There's a little bit of keyboard and some weird skippy percussion in the background until sort of just at the end he does like a crescendoing vocal thing, and then the drums and bass come in, and it kind of fades out and it's instrumental from that point on, which is an interesting arrangement because it almost feels like it ends prematurely. It then leads into, I believe it's a Pixies cover. I'm not that familiar with Pixies music, but the song is Cactus and I know it's a cover, which is pretty good. And then it goes back into another slow one called Slip Away, which kind of has airs and graces of sort of Life on Mars, Ziggy Stardust kind of Bowie, which is nice. It's a little bit slow and a little bit sort of soppy sounding, but it's quite nice. And then it goes into Slow Burn, which is an ironic titled song because it's actually quite speedy compared to most of the album, and it's got a very cool bass line. And then we've got Afraid with its kind of electro-y, skippy, not quite skippy drums, which I quite like. And then we have I Would Have Waited For You, which is the opening at least kind of reminded me of a burlesque show. Especially that guitar, it was a bit sleazy, it was cool, I liked it. And it was highly entertaining, and so were the lyrics as well, come to think of it. And much of the album is like this, which is good. Overall, it's a really interesting album. There's lots of different textures and experiments going on. It's not like Ours, where it was sort of just like a rock band, but they played like just loads of slow songs. This, when they do play slow songs, and overall it's quite a slow album, they're experimenting with the drum sounds, the guitar sounds, and even when they're not, Bowie's vocals are invested in how it sounds, as I've already said. So overall, it's pretty good. It's not its best. It could have done with perhaps like a more obvious hit. Um, Nothing particularly stands out, at least on not on first listen. But it's definitely a return to form over pretty much all of his '90s work. Um, I have to admit, I like the '90s albums, but all of them have got like major faults with them that sort of put me off. This doesn't, and I think that's the big difference. He's sort of going not quite back to his roots, or maybe he is, while also staying relevant, and that's what makes this album kind of a return to form. It's a sort of art pop slash rock sort of thing, which is kind of what he's always done or been best at. Even his '70s stuff was kind of arty. It always had that. I got a really itchy nose. It always had that experimental thing going on. Even on his earliest albums, he was always experimenting. He wasn't happy just to be like a rock singer or anything like that. It always had to have an edge to it that was different to everyone else, and that's what makes Bowie special. And that's why ours was so boring, was because it didn't have any of that. Excuse me for itching my nose, I can't help it. So, overall, I give it 8 out of 10 stars because I really like it. And that is my personal spin on this album. So, if you like my videos, please like and subscribe. My next video will be Bowie's next album, Reality, which is another cool album. I quite like that one as well. And I will see you soon. Thanks for watching. Goodbye. I've now got to turn my camera off because